There are a lot of sketchy characters in Hazbin Hotel. Alastor, Adam, and the V's, just to name a few. But the sketchiest of them all is definitely Lilith, the Queen of Hell and mother of Charlie Morningstar. I'm obviously not the first or last person to say this, but it feels like she's shaping up to be the true villain of Hazbin Hotel. The more we learn about this world and the many affairs of the afterlife, the more Lilith's absence in this story speaks volumes. Despite how vague the information around her is, what we can extrapolate from the first season alone is pretty damning. Everything goes back to her. This story literally began with her, and I believe it'll end with her as well. But what exactly makes her a villain? What could her true goal and motivation be? And how does that objective come in direct conflict with Charlie's goal of redeeming the sinners of hell? Well, I think it all has to do with one thing: free will, as it's the one constant with her actions thus far. So as we prepare for the explosive season finale and the dreaded hiatus that's sure to follow, let's figure out what the Queen of Hell is really cooking and how her master plan may shut down the Hazbin Hotel for good. But before we dive in, please, if you end up enjoying this video, then I'd greatly appreciate if you were to like and subscribe to the Roundtable with notifications on so you never miss a Hazbin Hotel video. And check out Criger for some dope cartoon merch like the Curse of Feathers and Mud or 3 Stars design. Link in the description. To quickly reestablish everything we know about Lilith, she hates subservience, has a knack for ditching her partners, and has been absent for 7 years prior to the start of the series, indicating a pretty obvious connection to Alastor, who was also MIA for 7 years, showed up to the hotel after Charlie called her mom, and has his own master that he reports to, though he seems to really resent viewing the relationship under that dynamic.
Big talk for someone who's also on a leash.
I already talked about why I think Alastor is serving her in my video covering episode 5, so instead of retreading that, I want to focus on Lucifer and why Lilith would even leave him in the first place. I think episode 5 provides a lot of context clues about the relationship and Lilith's true nature through Lucifer, his values, and the current state of hell. Lucifer's ambitions is what drew Lilith to him in the first place, as neither of them were vibing with heaven's rules or regulations. However, once they were banished to hell, it's clear the two slowly stopped seeing eye to eye. Lucifer fell into a depression and lost faith in hell's denizens, believing it was a mistake to give humans free will, as he parrots heaven's anti-redemption rhetoric. This is a stark contrast from Lilith, who rose to the occasion and embraced her newfound kingdom. We can assume she doesn't regret granting humans free will at all, especially if it means people are liberated from being someone else's slave. In fact, I think giving humans free will was her idea. But let's put a pin in that for a second. After their banishment, Lucifer became someone paralyzed by fear, a hermit locked up in his study all day. He became complacent with the state of everything, and thus complacent with the exterminations, believing heaven simply can't be swayed from their methods and opting to keep a low profile. Lilith, wanting to protect her people, refused to tolerate this mentality and ended their marriage, taking matters into her own hands. This could also be why she kept Charlie away from her dad when she was a kid. Lilith recognized that Charlie had huge ambitions like Lucifer once did, but didn't want his pessimism to rub off on her, for Charlie to give up on her dreams before they even began. However, I'd argue there's something very off about Lilith keeping these two separated. At the end of the series prologue, Charlie states that Lilith's dream was passed down to her, followed by Charlie tapping to her full power demon form, which feels very ominous as Charlie has only shown to enter this state when she's enraged. Not to mention this prologue never actually states what Lilith's dream is. We're just left to assume that it's ensuring hell's survival. But mentioning that without much elaboration is sketchy, right? It comes across as Lilith trying to imprint a specific dream onto Charlie. She has a plan for her daughter and has been ensuring she doesn't stray from the path laid out for her since she was a child, not letting her get too close to Lucifer because then it could influence Charlie to seek out a different dream and throw a wrench into Lilith's plan, which would be ironic given this all comes back to free will. But Lilith might not be above being a bit of a hypocrite, as she may think that the ends justify the means. And with all of this in mind, I can't help but to question if giving Eve the apple wasn't Lucifer's idea, but in fact Lilith's. Although the story in Overture depicts Lucifer handing the apple to Eve, Lilith is still shown to be the only other person in attendance. And frankly, it makes more sense for her to choose a target than Lucifer because she has way more personal investment as Adam's former wife. Adam is a misogynistic dick who relishes in having women obey his every order. His army of exorcists are all women that are implied to be an extension of himself, and despite maintaining a "I'll do whatever I want" kind of attitude, he hates being challenged. He doesn't want to share his privileges with other people. He's anti-independence. So when Lilith dipped and saw he was presented with another wife to boss around, she wanted to do everything in her power to put a stop to it. So she turned to a love-struck Lucifer for help, talking him into tempting Eve with the apple, and well, the rest is history. Hell was created and the earth was tainted with sin, something that only Lilith seemed to regard as a net positive. Lilith and Lucifer becoming opposites of each other is also why I think Lilith's role as an antagonist makes sense narratively. Since it was easy for Charlie to reconcile with her dad and get him to support her dream, the show won't hand her an easy victory with the other parent. Instead, it'll be much harder for Charlie to be on the same page as her mom. But instead of Charlie trying to convince her of something that she doesn't agree with, things will be swapped, and it'll be Lilith trying to convince Charlie of something that goes against her moral code. But what could Lilith possibly propose that goes against Charlie's moral code? Well, what if it has something to do with heaven's fear of hell uprising against them? Another thing that's been brought up in this series a couple of times now that seems to need some clarification. A fear of an uprising is Adam's justification for the extermination, but from what we can see in episode 3, oh my god, why am I rhyming so much? Demons aren't trying to overthrow heaven. They're just trying to defend themselves and are ready to bring the fight to the skies above because they know Adam won't call off his genocide. And Lucifer isn't trying to give angels any problems. Bro has his rubber duckies to worry about. So who exactly is instigating an uprising here? The obvious answer is nobody. And Adam's just fear-mongering so he can have the green light to act on his bigotry. But the juicier answer is that Lilith might have threatened an uprising, and we frankly can't rule her out as a suspect. Once again, she's the queen of hell. She gives a damn about her people, and she has a pretty good motive in wanting an uprising, as she can't trust heaven so long as Adam is calling the shots. And while we can't really gauge how Adam was prior to becoming an angel, it really does seem like he's only gotten worse since finessing his way to the top. I mean shit, he's still controlling women and forcing them to bend to his will as shown with Sarah. It makes complete sense why Lilith would want to shut this down in the hopes of removing him from power. But let's say she did succeed in overthrowing Adam. Why would she want to rule over heaven? Well, I think she wants to go 2 for 2 and introduce free will to heaven by abolishing its rules. Cause think about it, are the angels in heaven really free? Because from what we've seen, an angel straying from their assigned purpose is often met with severe punishment, even if their defiance is morally correct, like not wanting to kill an innocent child just because they're in hell. Especially when the rules of what it takes to get into heaven are extremely vague. Guess you're not actually allowed to stick it to the man, eh Adam? If Lilith's biggest op is subservience, then it tracks that she would want to eliminate the source of it. However, it'll prove to be an overcorrection because a world without any rules whatsoever is destined to be pure chaos. Hell isn't in the best shape either, and while the exterminations contribute to that, it's definitely a case of leadership. One ruler doesn't even want to be in this position, and the other hasn't even been present in 7 years. Lilith's clearly not afraid to be a bit of a hypocrite by making deals with people like Alastor, turning the tables on him so that he's the one on a leash for a change. Because to her, the ends justify the means. And for the sake of speculation, she could have promised to relinquish the soul of anyone she owns, on top of who knows what. Which factors into why Alastor snaps so hard at Husk. Not only does he refuse to view himself in that light, but he's also holding on to the idea that he's getting something out of this at the end of the day. Of course, Eve could also be the one pulling Alastor's strings. I know my Bud Sarcastic Chorus just made a video about that, but I feel like whatever's gonna be the deal with Eve is still gonna wrap around back to Lilith. But how would all of this conflict with Charlie and the Hazbin Hotel? Well, if the rules of heaven are abolished, what purpose does the hotel serve? What incentive would sinners have to improve as people if heaven becomes no different than hell? The entire hotel hinges on the current state of the afterlife, and although Charlie wants to see it improve, I don't think she'd be down with anarchy to make it happen. Of course, this wouldn't explain why Lilith wants the hotel to succeed and assigned Alastor to ensure it's kept safe. Maybe she wanted Charlie to go through everything that's happened up until now so she'd see the error of Heaven's ways and be more inclined to side with whatever Mom's cooking up. Maybe she wants the hotel to succeed to prep Charlie for the day she takes over Hell as its new queen, using the hotel as a test run for her leadership skills and ability to take care of people. Or maybe the act of purifying a soul comes with unforeseen effects that will somehow give Charlie a boost in power, which Lilith wants to happen for whatever reason. Again, we only know so much about this character, but hopefully that changes with the season finale this week. I'm really hoping that these last 2 episodes give us some sort of insight on Lilith and what she's been up to. If you ask me, I think she's either been residing in the Garden of Eden, laying low in secret, or she's somewhere on Earth. But I don't think she's in heaven or hell at the moment, though the former would be a good twist depending on how they go about it. And as always, these are just my thoughts and I'd love to hear yours. Do you think Lilith could be the true antagonist of Hazbin Hotel? What do you think her motives could be? Let me know in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Insta at AwestruckVox and at Roundtable Vids. Check out Toonjer for some dope cartoon merch, and if you enjoyed this video, please sure to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. See ya!